Oh man.
Wait, let me see. Um,
Oh,
oof. Okay, yeah.
I
All
see.
right, we're live, man.
Perfect. Just amazing. You're doing a great job so far. So wait, am I introing this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Look,
Uh, well, this is the Oceans Apart podcast, and today we're talking about oh Jesus, whatever Christian asked us, which is like the differences in training ideologies between America and U.S. I think.
America, US.
Oh yeah, America and Sweden. There we go.
Yeah.
Uh, and uh, and fitness qualities, right?
No,
Some.
yeah, and we're also gonna touch on a little bit on how Liverpool won the EPL this
Oh yeah.
past season. Just like a quick little brief.
Well, then why don't you kick off with that?
All right, okay, I'll kick off with the Liverpool. So it was a pretty intense season. I don't know if you watched any of that because I know you don't really
Nope.
follow just soccer. So, but like they were doing a pretty well job until like let's say February kicked in and just their Valentine's Day just fell apart and it just started going downhill. And yeah, it ended up with them not winning the EPL actually, unfortunately. So I have really no idea like what the point of that question really was with them winning it because it's pretty stupid since they lost. And yeah, I don't know. Like it's, but yeah, that's kind of it.
Well, who do they need to draft to get a better team? Like, what gap do they need to fill in the team to win the EPL this year?
Mm. See, the thing is, like, I don't think they can win the EPL. I think they're that like messed up. Like, there's no hope for them. That's how I feel about all of this. Like,
All right.
there's rumors about Felipe Coutinho coming back in, but I don't think that's gonna be of any beneficial at all. So I have zero hope for Liverpool next season and 5 years forward, 10 years, even a lifetime forward. I do not believe they can win the league.
Wow.
So
Uh, my thoughts on this, because you didn't ask. I would say that what they should do is they should all just marry the U.S. women's soccer team, and then just so all the U.S. women's soccer team can go to Sweden, and then or not Sweden, wherever they're located. I don't know. I don't even know what this is.
England.
This is like the worst question for me, but so that they can all just go to England, right? And then all the women's team can just play for England, and that's how I think they could win the league, or at least have a shot.
See, I would honestly say that like the way they could have a shot is like if they all like go with the U.S. Women's team, and then like those babies grow
Ah,
up, and then they go into the Liverpool
okay,
first team. Then maybe there's maybe a shot then, but
that's a
if
good
not
plan.
that, I have very little hope for Liverpool, and yeah, to win the EPL, unfortunately.
All right, that's all
Yeah.
right. That's a good talk. Good talk. Good hope. Hopeful.
Yeah, no man. The thing is like just that they just don't know. Like they're see like that's what they need like the Americans like because in the US like the way that they approach fitness is much better than the way they approach fitness over there. That's kind of what's also lacking a lot. Like you can see the tired legs towards the like 80th minute, 90. Like that's kind of when they just not as fresh and that's when you need to still be able to get going and get those goals in and win some games. But yeah,
Wow,
man.
that was a really good segue.
Yeah, I know.
um, I will
I,
say
uh,
about the England. I think what I've been told with zero experience whatsoever is that the like how across the pond works is they produce much better like researchers and theorists
mm,
rather than like really good strength coaches.
yeah.
I don't really know that for a fact, but that's just what they tell me. So
But who's they?
this guy named Keir Wenham Flat, who's British, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what nationality he is. He's something. Well, not on his. All right, then we're not even
No,
gonna try it.
yeah. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. No, but I would actually agree with you. I feel like the people who produce the best strength coaches is definitely the U.S. I feel like everybody else is lacking behind, especially I would say here in like I can always like specifically say from Sweden's perspective, like Scandinavia, is that they know kind of the really basics of the basic stuff. Just kind of okay, like you do this, like do these kind of sprints, but there's no really purpose behind it. It's kind of like okay, your heart rate's going, you're exhausted, you're working out, you're sweating, like okay, like that's a good session, conditioning or workout wise, you increase your weights, but there's no really thought process behind it, like why am I doing this specific exercise with these players, or like kind of more thoughts behind why they're doing what they're doing. It's kind of just more throwing in a bunch of stuff, and either like it's worked for you or like you're hoping it's gonna work, and if it works, you're like, oh my god, I'm a genius, kind of thing. That's honestly that's basically what it is. Like it's kind of sad, you know, cause like when you talk to people and they just listen to what they're saying, like oh, like that's awesome, man. You know, you can't try and tell them that they're wrong because then it's gonna get all these sad faces and like arguments. So you gotta do it like in a nice way.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of think that's like the U.S. too at times. It's like I input this, I had the outcome I wanted. I'm amazing, and there have been moments where I've done that for sure at Springfield College Team Iron Sports. No doubt there, where it's been like, it's like, oh, well they got stronger, well genius. It's like, I'm dealing with like 18 to 20-year-old kids or 22-year-old kids who have, who go to the gym and like are like, dude, I did 11 sets of legs today, and I'm like, great. How many top sets did you do? And they're like, oh, I did one set of 185 for squats, hit 6, baby. But then I got the bar, 65, 75, 85, 95. Like all all the way up there, and then like one back down or whatever, and it's like, okay, that's not really training. That's I don't know what that is. It's like Mike Israel's scale of like fuckery to training, and it's just like all the way over here on like the fuckery side of things. And so it's like, realistically, is that super genius to take kids and put them on like a well thought out, well periodized program? Like, no, it's just taking beginners and teaching them how to train and teaching them like a motor skill, and then, or several motor skills really, and then like refining that over time. But I think like a lot of U.S. coaches just see improvement, and they're really seeing it, like they take someone and they have like the sickest sprint block planned out, and they have they do whatever, they read Applied Sprint Training by James Smith, and they use that or whatever, and just do the same, like the program that he lines up in the back of his book, and they see improvement. It's like, did you see improvement in neuromuscular coordination, or did you see like an improvement in like alactic power output, or did you just see an increase in motor skill, which is like kind of intramuscular coordination, but like did you just see someone just get better at the skill of sprinting, as opposed to actually like increasing how efficient their neuromuscular system is in like a physiological sense of like actually like motor neurons getting thicker, like muscles able to contract better eccentrically and isometrically at the pelvis? Like, what did you actually see a change in? And it's like, I don't really know, but I saw a change. So,
that's all that matters.
So yeah, like I think that happens sometimes here too. I also think we stole from the Russians like more than any other race alive. Like literally just everything was like stolen right from the Russians. Can you stop dinging, please?
That's not me dinging. That's I don't know. Yeah.
Oh God, damn it.
I don't know how to turn it. I don't know how to turn that way. Actually, yeah. Keep going. You were talking about like the Russians and Americans.
Yeah, like we just stole like all the Russian stuff, and kind of have tried to adapt it, and I think we've had like a decent amount of success.
Yeah.
a few of the things though, like that, sometimes are overlooked is that, like, the biggest things to me, if you go through, I think it was special strength training by, I think it's Verkhoshansky or some, sure, I don't know. Someone wrote special strength training is my point, and
Mm-mm.
in that he's going through this stuff, and like, he has that there's two different, like, there's two training sessions a day, and I
Mm.
don't know if that's like weight room or it's like the weight room and the sport.
Yeah, yeah,
And is it two sessions a day and the sport? Like, I have no idea.
yeah,
So like when people use Russian methodology and like don't get exactly what they're looking for in terms of an outcome, like that might be why, because the Russians had a huge amount of frequency and a system that really like pushed people in a direction of positive gain through just like volume, because the Russian system was set up that like you could be paid to do your sport, and like a livable like funding, I guess. Like you could get a house, you could have a family. Like Dmitry Klokov is a pretty good example in
mm.
that he has like this huge house, excuse me, and he's able to live off of weightlifting.
Mm.
And so he can train like 3 times a day and be, strong enough to deadlift like, I don't even know, like 135 kilograms with his middle finger. So seriously, he did that. I don't think it was 135 kilograms, but it was a lot of weight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we did that for sure, is just steal from the Russians. But, I think we also have just sport that like, pushes you to understand the body a little better.
Mm.
Not to say like you guys suck at sports, but like, we have a lot of really high level sports because we have a huge amount of people in our country, and so
Yeah,
we need coaches who understand that to a level.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I say that, if you compare like countries like just like those three, like the U.S., Russia, and Sweden, like comparing those in producing athletes that are like at the like highest level, definitely the U.S. and Russia like up to like Sweden, and that's like a lot of countries like just in general like in Europe I feel like are lacking behind. There's definitely sometimes like this, but like I feel like consistency wise, it's like
Yeah.
always been there. But like while other countries, especially in Europe, it's coming like up and it goes up and
Mhm.
down. Like 1 year or like a few years, it's like someone is just like amazing, but it's almost I want to see it as like just maybe not even so much the brilliance of the coaches more, as maybe there's like genetics in that athlete,
Yeah.
and the coaches are just doing something and like putting some shit through him. And I was gonna say that because like you're mentioning like having like specific blocks that you go through like or systems that you do with your athletes. I've never heard anybody mention any of that like here, like especially like in Sweden. Like I've never heard anybody mention anything about like a triphasic system or having a specific block to do this and then build on that. Like people usually just um, go and just do whatever. It's kind of like it's kind of like the regular 3 sets by 10. That's
Mhm.
kind of like the thing for every single exercise, and
Yeah.
then you increase the weights all the time, and then if you're like it's kind of tired, like it's either gonna lead to an injury or we're gonna just keep increasing the weights. Maybe
Yeah.
take like a week off or a day off, and then just keep doing that. And there's like no really, again, like I said, thought behind it, and I think that's kind of what's it shows a lot in that. I feel like it's just that there's no this pressure, especially like is this in Scandinavia, in that you always take you kind of everything is in like medium size. Like you don't really go to the extreme in any kind of sense,
Mhm.
training wise or in any other sense. Like there's definitely individuals who do that, but stereotypically it's kind of just you just take it easy and kind of just do your thing. Like you don't really go to these extreme measures like the Russians did with the extreme volume or the US
Mhm.
does like in similar ways. And I think that's kind of like the biggest difference and almost why the sports like haven't really grown. Like short, they have a really great like the one thing that Sweden is good at like it's ice hockey and like winter
Mhm.
sports, but individual ones, but not even a lot there. So it's I don't know. Like, the thing is like I feel that what they need to do is just like get a different view of training in general. Because right now it's just this still old mindset of how to train, and there's no really like it's kind of like it's worked before, it's gonna work still today. Just like
Mhm.
stick to it. There's no really advances being made. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think even from like a perspective of kind of like the feeder systems almost here,
Mm.
like because I have no idea how college works over there, but or university or whatever you call it, or Findenslaken, or I don't know what the word is, but like here it's like right, like if I went out my driveway and I drove like left, I would hit a gym within a mile. If I drove right, I'd hit a gym within a mile.
Yeah,
And like so like one, we have a lot of people who are fat and overweight, and like they're just maybe not a need for gyms with
yeah,
trainers, but there's a demand for it, and like there's enough people to uh like create the demand that all that, and like and then because I said college and then went general population, so it looked like you had a question, so I'm going to keep you from that question for like 30 more seconds. But like the college thing, like you have like D1, D2, D3, and then you have like junior colleges, and then you
yeah,
even have high schools who have a system there. So you have like 5 different levels, and then you can go to even like pros. And so it's like really there's like 6 levels of just like hundreds of thousands of these places that all need strength coaches. And it's
yeah,
like and it's like, hey, the Mississippi State strength coach, oh, he's doing cool stuff. Hey, dude, what are you doing? Oh, nice. I'm the Missouri strength coach or whatever it is. Like, there's just an easy connection there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so information's passed rapidly and efficiently.
Yeah.
There's a lot of saturation, I guess, is my point.
Yeah, like I was just gonna add on like with the like college and high school and even like the pros. Like that's the thing. Like I feel like that's in one way like it's a good thing. I like the way that they've kind of made it. Like so, if you are a high school athlete and a very like potential like highly rated, it is like almost like a nice path for you to go and get into the pros. Like either like straight from high school or like kind of go through college and then that way boom like it's almost a nice path into the pro league. Well, at least here it's been like I don't really know. I think even in England they have a similar way like that, but like I know
Mm.
that usually like in Europe all of them that's just in high school there's like none of that like that you work out like you sure you have like PE classes, but it's not
Yeah.
really that and then like in college as well, like, there's no unless you study that specific thing like exercise science or something really like strength conditioning related something, then you might get exposure to like different systems and how to train. But besides that, like as an athlete, you don't get exposure to that at all. It's kind of just you have to hope that the coaches or the coach you have understands and knows what they're doing. Basically, it's yeah, that's kind of basically what it is, man. And I don't know, but at the same time, like I think that's also like why like just because like if you compare again, like the U.S., it's like a lot of overweight people, almost like obese, like for the majority part. But like honestly, but if you look like if you ever came to Scandinavia, like you barely see anyone overweight. Like sure, you
Hmm.
definitely see someone, but it's not the like same frequency as you would see in the U.S.
Hmm.
I think again that's kind of like just because of people, they it's like this medium. They don't go to extremes. Like in the U.S., it's like you go either like extreme with eating or you go extreme training, or like there's always like this
Yeah.
extreme. No matter what you do, like well here it's like it's almost okay. Like you're almost okay with being average. You're okay with like this average lifestyle. While I feel like in a country like the U.S., it's almost you're always fed that you need to go to the extreme. Like you make this amount of money or
Yeah.
make this and this. Like just always these extreme measures, and it's being fed to you from a really young age, and then you grow with that mindset. And especially if you're poor, right, and it's like even more like you just fucking like you really want to get out of there. If you grow up in like okay wealthy, like even more than that, like really rich, and it's kind of like you're not like it's kind of more chill by that. But if you're definitely poor, it's like just it's like you'll almost do anything just to get out of there, like so
Yeah.
it's extreme of the extreme.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah,
Even uh, like even just like how people think about fitness here is so like it does boggle my mind a little bit, and like I think it kind of came through, and even like the questions we got on Instagram
yeah,
with some of that, like like we were talking before this about how we got like how to be swole, how to be jacked, cutting while getting bigger, getting smaller while getting bigger.
Yeah.
And it's just like so hard to do that. Like if you're a natural athlete and you wanna recomp and you wanna lose weight and gain muscle, or you wanna lose fat and gain muscle, like that's really hard. Like and if you want to gain muscle, then like you kind of have to be okay with being a little chubby.
Yeah.
Like there's just no way around it, and but people think in an extreme of like this is definitely possible, even though like you'd have to do something super extreme to get that. But it's like this is definitely possible. Or like I don't remember who I was listening to talk about this, but like maybe it was Davidson and Marcosis. It was but like
of course.
it was like something about like how if it's expected as a personal trainer or a strength coach or whatever you want to call it, that like if someone comes in and says, hey, I have a wedding in 6 weeks and I need to have abs, and they're like they do not have any semblance of a good eating habit. Like a good breakfast to them is like a Pop-Tart and a piece of toast.
Yeah.
And like that, it's just like, oh yeah, I had breakfast today. It was a sick one, man. I toasted some Pop-Tarts, gobbled those down, shaked that with like a coffee with cream and sugar in it, and there's no chance I'm drinking black coffee. Then it's like, oh man, and you want to have a six pack in 8 weeks, or 6 weeks or whatever, like like that's insane.
Yeah.
Like you would have to do something drastic to do that. And and it's like, even just from what you said, like I kind of think if someone walked up to you in Sweden and said, hey, like I want a 6-pack, then you would look and be like, well, like this is going to take probably 3 to 4 months at the least, And if someone walked up to me in America and was like, hey, I want a 6-pack and I want to do it tomorrow, and I'd be like, well, no, like it's going to take you 3 to 4 months. Then like I have lost a client. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but honestly, like at the same time, it's a little bit of the same thing here, because like when I'm kind of doing my internship right now at a clinic, you have people walking like what these people, like they usually walk in like with like some sort of pain, or they might just like kind of wanna like strengthen their knee, like the muscle on their knees, is like whatever it might be, like they got injured a long time ago, whatever it might be, and it's like you tell them that like it's gonna take a while, and they just like you can like some people understand it, they're like, okay, I know it's gonna take a while. Others are just they're like, I don't understand like what I'm doing here. Like I come here, I do these exercises, like what's really the point of this? It's like you try to explain to them, and there's just still there's like this doubt, and they're like, I want it now. Like why should it take it so long? I'm like, that's the thing. It's just because of all this BS that you read about, like kind of get abs, and like this one exercise is gonna get you like 6-pack abs. Like no, like what's gonna get you 6-pack abs is number one, having a really decent breakfast, and not fucking I feel also that's like the biggest mistake that like most people you hear, like just what is it, like they'll have, I don't know, like a small maybe bowl of some porridge, or like even just like 2 toasts, some coffee like that. It's like there's nothing in there like that's like you're just getting such a small portion of like what you need for the day. Like then the rest of the day, like you're maybe like stressed, so you don't get like a proper lunch, and then you just overeat for dinner, and it just becomes a shit, and then you just go and repeat every single day. There's nothing gonna come. So you can put in the hours in the gym, but you won't still see any results almost.
Yeah. I don't know how it is in Switzerland or whatever you're from. But like, I mean, obviously that, if you walk into a literally any store that has magazines, there are people that are just absolutely like shredded to the bone on the cover. And it's I have news for you. Every single fucking one of them is on steroids. And not a single one of them like actually looks like that in real life, or for more than about 2 weeks. Like, like if you're shooting an action movie, you don't have to look like that for months on end. You have to look like that until principal shooting with your shirt off is done,
Exactly.
which is like 2 days.
Yeah, basically.
You
That's
know,
it.
you get one scene where you're getting shot in the chest while shirtless.
Yeah.
Done. You can go back to eating your Pop-Tarts and like whatever.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and that's something that like people don't realize is like maintaining that year round is miserable and just like not at all worth it.
Mm.
Like bodybuilders don't look like bodybuilders for more than about 2 weeks, like before a show.
Yeah, no.
You know, and it's like, and you know, like even strength. Like I'm not strong year round. Like I can't just walk into a gym, like drop everything and pull six, just year round. Like, you know, I can pull six like when the fatigue is nice and low, and I'm like not like I'm, you know, I'm in the start of a training block or I'm at the very end of a training block. Like
Yeah.
I don't just walk into a gym and like be strong all the time. That being said, training's going pretty well, so.
Well, that makes one of us at least. Mine's going to hell.
Well, you're also doing Mass 1, so it's
That's
not
true.
supposed to go well.
No, but honestly, just like the quick comment on like the all year round like strength to be able to pull six. Like that's the thing too. Is like where, you know, you was like you wish you could, you know, have an all year round strength and be able to, you know, pull six or whatever the number is that you're pulling. But the thing is like you're gonna have to like sacrifice. Like when you're starting a new program or a new like block, whatever it is, like you kind of have to sacrifice something. Like still can maintain it, but it's gonna have to drop them a little bit. So you won't. You might be able to put like I don't know, like 580s. Like it's gonna go down a bit, but it's like still high. But you have to sacrifice and like build something else. You can have just depending on your sport or your lifestyle, whatever it is, like you want to do with your life. And that's just, you know, it's just something you have to accept. You can't fucking have everything. Like you can't just have the Thai cake. Like you just kind of take bits and pieces like all year round. You know?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like especially for Americans, because like, you know, like you said, like it's a culture of like wanting it all. Like you
Yeah.
want the extreme. Like, and you know, I could not tell you. Like you know, like I've had clients be like, "Yo, I want to get really huge, but I need like my aerobic base to be kept up." And or like, you know, and like that sort of thing. It's like, well, you know, again, like I could promise you that, but like you're probably gonna feel like kind of garbage walking upstairs
Yeah.
if you really want to get huge.
Yeah.
And like if you want to get huge, great. Like let's run 1,000 miles an hour at that. And like it's just trying to get like Americans to like understand a little bit that like if you want to be really strong and have an aerobic capacity, I'm sorry, but your heart rate's definitely going to go up. Like your blood pressure is probably going to go up, and you know, you're going to be in pain because you're going to be lifting a heavy weight a lot to get strong. And like no one understands that. It's
No,
just
but
like,
honestly, just a quick like say like that's kind of like what I feel about doing mass run right now. Because like I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I'm on week 10 right now. It's 16 weeks, and like I haven't done a full out sprint in 10 weeks. Like, and I'm just, you know, and sometimes I walk up the stairs like I'm done, you know. But like, sure, I'm getting bigger and I feel stronger, but I'm definitely sacrificing my aerobic, and it's just something I've accepted. Like right now, like once it's done, I'll like move on to the next thing. But for now, it's like I want to get bigger and like just stronger. I have to sacrifice a little bit. Like still, I can, you know, run and shit, but it's not at the same level. It's not the same level.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know how it is to get clients to do things that like they don't necessarily like want to do over there, but like, you know, I mean, people I just don't think understand like how hard it is to improve like system biology. You know, like it's hard to force the body to do something that's not homeostatic in nature. Like it's really, really fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like even just improving like your aerobic capacity, like even just like the low hanging fruit, like strength and aerobic capacity, right? Like the simplest stuff. Like if you look at like Fick's equation, which is the you know the multiplication of the stroke volume and the cardiac output, you know, equals. Wait, that's not even right. Am I like I'm totally wrong? Sorry. It's like what the AVO2 difference times the cardiac output, which is stroke volume and heart rate, equals VO2 max.
Yeah.
Whoa, that was scary for a second there. But like really, what you're looking at.
You're wrong.
It's like, oh, he's wrong. Holy shit. But what did I say? Oh yeah. So like what you're looking at when you're increasing your aerobic capacity, your aerobic ceiling is like increasing VO2 max. And it's improving like either side of that equation. Like you're either increasing your cardiac output or you're increasing your ability to take oxygen out of the arteries. And like increasing cardiac output is kind of challenging because stroke volume is not achievable past the age of like 13 or 14, I think. So you can't actually hypertrophy the heart any more than it already is after you're like 13. And I don't know what you were like at 13. You probably looked the same way you do now, just ripped and beautiful. But I was like a chubby little kid who couldn't do anything. So my heart is boned now because of that. From that perspective. Yeah. In terms of the heart rate, like, I mean, you can pretty much jack that indefinitely, and you can increase your rate pressure product. Like there are a few ways to increase, like to improve that side.
Yeah.
And then the AVO2 difference, I mean, if you're talking about the level of like the type 1 fibers, which is probably predominantly what you're going to be using, then there's not a huge amount of like change you can create by like increasing mitochondrial content. Yeah. So it's like you kind of have to be super specific to get the gains that you really want. Like it might just be a behavior output that you're like, back to like that thing about motor learning versus actually increasing anything. Like you might just be like allowing your nervous system to not like clamp the muscle as hard on your veins or arteries as it normally would. Mm-hmm. Like you might also just be like behaviorally like, oh, it's hot out today, but this sucks less than it did last week, or
Yeah.
There are just very few things you can really do without that involve not working hard, if that makes sense. Like my point is you have to work really hard to improve anything.
Yeah.
Like aerobic capacity is still one of those things.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree, man. It's all about, because we're not programmed to work hard. Like our brains are just, it goes immediately as soon as you get out of homeostasis, it's like nope, like It's not good for you, and it just like starts telling you like no, you need to go away from it. It's like so you just have to start basically tricking yourself like no, like I need to, because otherwise if you always say no, like as soon as it says no, like and you stop, you're never gonna adapt, you're never gonna see a change. It's like because it's just the way we're programmed evolutionarily, so it's really hard, especially kind of getting people into that getting out of the comfort zone. And that's something too as well. It's kind of where when people especially come into our clinic, for example, that they're like, oh, like we're doing like these basic things, but the thing is like you don't even do the basic things properly. Like you don't even know how to squat properly. Like still you're doing it. Like you don't know how to bench. You don't know how to do this, all this. And they want to do something that's so much more progressive. And I was like, no, like you need to first learn how to do this properly. Like really feel the right muscles and do it properly. And but it's all about like just always rushing it, like kind of getting somewhere all the instead of just learning how to do it properly. It's just like, if you don't do it properly and then you just keep doing it, short term you're gonna be happy, but long term you're gonna get some injury and hopefully you won't be able to do what you want to do, and you're gonna come back and like just you're back to square one again, and just gonna be this evil circle, and it's gonna be a shit show basically. That's what it is, and that's something people have a really hard time understanding. And I feel it's the same with the US and here. I think it's just like a general human thing where you're rushing all the time. It's like just getting to the next thing, and not really concentrating and really learning how to do something properly.
I mean, I think people, and like, I am the exact same way. Like, I want the easy way out. Like, like I would really rather, like, something I look at the other trainers at the gym and say a lot is like, don't get stronger. Like, this is terrible. Like every time I pick up a barbell to deadlift, like, I think my eyes are going to shoot out of my head,
Yeah.
And it's just, and so it's just like, this is god awful. And like, I wish it were easier to get stronger.
Yeah.
like, but and you know, like, but people do want like easier things to do that aren't that hard, you
Yeah.
know, and like, you know, they want the cake that they were promised, you
Yeah.
know, at the end of the road. Excuse me. And yeah, they just want to skip steps, like you were saying, and like that is a really human thing. And you know, I think like kind of tricking people into really loving the process is like the way to go,
Yeah.
because it's if you can get someone, I think in my personal experience, like if you can get someone at like this is exactly what I did with Cindy to put like a name to a face. Like remember the special ops client?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like, oh, I love that woman. But like this is exactly what I did with her. Like I literally we started with like the lightest deadlifts ever.
Yeah.
And you know, I just like we just had conversations and like I tried to make it as fun as humanly possible,
Yeah. Yeah.
whether it was like making fun of your stupid haircut that you had at the time or or just like you know, or just like telling her a joke. You know what I mean? And like, you know, just like honestly caring about her and
Yeah.
like making like wanting her to be like healthier so that when, you know, she's 70, she'll be good,
Yeah.
you know. And like she really started to enjoy the training process and like would freak out if she wasn't going to get 2 days with me,
Yeah.
which is like insane because you know like I don't want to hang out with myself for 2 days. So like you know just making it fun and then suddenly like pulling the gotcha on her and just like throwing heavy deadlifts in there, you
Yeah.
know, and really like starting to move some weight,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like and all that stuff and then suddenly like there's a just an entirely separate pathway of like dopamine being created and you're like, oh well, you know, I no longer have to be funny, and I can just be a decent human being, and I don't really have to laugh ever. It's like that's not true, but like, you know what I mean? Is like
Yeah.
training just becomes fun for like different reasons,
Yeah.
you know, and people get attached to training if you can just give them like a truly like intrinsic motivation,
Mm.
you know, as opposed to just like, you know, why do you train? Well, I want abs. Well, why do you want abs? Like,
Yeah.
do you, you know, were you bullied as a kid? Do you just like you know do you feel like your wife doesn't find you attractive anymore? Like
Mm.
there's just like crazy deep stuff to
Yeah. Yeah.
behaviors. Plug Robert Sapolsky behave here.
Wait, have you read this book?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good.
And I have to read it. Like I heard everybody talk about it. Like I read to get it.
It's like 3 years old. Well, have you wait? Which book? Zebras or Behave?
No, no, behave.
Oh man, Behave. Like I thought Zebras was really good, and Behave
It's a whole different
is
level.
really good. Like
Uh,
I thought it was really tremendous.
uh,
And like that's just sorry, you go.
now I'm just gonna say like a quick thing is that like how would you do? Because I feel like someone saying like I want abs. Like would you do ask him like kind of like why do you want the abs? Like would you say like on the first session as soon as they walk in, or would you first establish a sort of relationship and kind of just work simple things and then like say week 2, week 3 maybe even later on I don't know like would you then kind of dig deeper and really find out like why is this the goal? Like would you just go straight off and just like why and just keep going why until you just hit the core reason?
I've always gone later,
Mm.
and generally what I've found is people expose their whys without me asking why.
Mm. Okay.
You know, like just in conversation, and that's what like personally I found,
Mm-mm.
and that you know it's never like a and you know like my examples of whys were like really deep and aggressive, and you know sometimes it's just like well why you know like why do you want to deadlift heavy weight? Well, you know, like I just want to be able to hike and not be in pain. You know, like sometimes that's their why.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, it doesn't have to be like because I was fucking abused as a kid. Like, it doesn't have to be anything
Yeah.
crazy, you know. It's just like that's just like my example of
Yeah.
you know the level that it can go to.
Yeah. Yeah, but honestly, I sometimes wonder that, like, what if you had a client who walks in and just, like they have this really bizarre story and like something happened to them or something, and then you just, yeah, like I don't know how I would react to that. Like, you're like, yeah, I was bullied as a kid, or like my girlfriend left me because of this. Is just like how, I don't know, like a part of me would probably like maybe laugh inside a little bit if it's like, I don't know, because I try to find like something funny in everything, but like at the same time, it's just like it would be so hard. But I literally just like stand there and like. Okay, I don't know what to say to you. It's ridiculous, man.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'd do with that stare. That's never happened to me.
Dude, I
So I
hope
really.
it's not so bad. Like I
Oh
keep thinking like one day like someone's gonna walk in and just have this the most bizarre thing. I'm just like, okay, yeah, yeah. I just don't know what to tell you, mate. Like,
oh man. Yeah, I don't know.
like
Yeah, that worries me. I ain't
dude,
putting that in my head.
dude. No, man. But honestly, the thing is like with this like this whole thing with clients as well, man. It's like I don't know. It's just especially like this like the kind of getting them to buy in. That's
Mhm.
like I feel it's probably one of the most difficult things as a coach, or yeah, I was like yeah, especially as a coach, like kind of having them, especially like if it's someone who's been trained by themselves for a long time, they kind of know what they're doing and maybe done some more advanced things, and then
Mhm.
look at them and they're like you can't really see like, they're just awful at
Yeah.
scripting or like they came in fucking hit external rotation, like get their positional right, everything, and it's just you gotta go back to square one, and they're just why the fuck are we going back to square one? Like, and like having them understand that, I feel that's a really hard thing, and it's like something that everybody needs to do like in a different way. But yeah, I the way I would like, where I haven't really had anybody who's been like that, but it's kind of like I say that, like as best as possible, almost, not as best as possible. It's gonna make it very, you know, dumb. So like you don't really complicate things too much and explain everything like
Mhm.
anatomically, physiology, and everything like that. Just explain to them like what's going on, like how it's looking,
Yeah.
and like, just the long term effects like, if they keep doing what they're doing,
Yeah.
and then hopefully they will understand it. Like, oh, okay, this is like he's right, like he's onto something, or they're gonna be like, nah, like he's an idiot and just well, if they say he's an idiot, I'm just gonna let them go. Like I'm not dealing with this shit to be honest. Like I don't need that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Like if people don't want to work with you, like
Yeah.
I mean, like I know he's never going to listen to this, but Nate Kingsley is like my hero for this because
Shout out to Nick Kingsley.
shout out to Nate Kingsley. But seriously, because he like the year before I took over Iron Sports, I think me and Clay were just like sitting in the varsity weight room with him because he was telling us, "Hey, like I want you to take over Iron Sports. Like me and Nick have decided like you two are the guys." And he just like looked at me and was like, "The biggest fucking mistake you can make is getting upset about people leaving." And it's like that's the goddamn truth right there. Is like because I mean people have quit Iron Sports for a
Yeah,
ridiculous number of reasons.
yeah, yeah.
And I mean, it ranges from like they don't want to do powerlifting, which is like what we do, which is like okay, fine, like that's okay. But and like I mean, we had one kid who I just don't even know who it was, but like I really hope that KO watches this at some point because like her reaction was better than mine because like he came over to me and was like, "Hey, so do we get to do our own thing down here?" Or, like not really. I was like, "No, like we actually have a program."
Oh
And
yeah.
then he walked over to her and was like, "Hey, so like, do we get to do our own thing down here, or like, do we get a program?" And she was like, "No, like we have a program." And he took not like didn't look at the program, just walked out, which like I was laughing about for a week afterwards. It was so funny, and so like people just like with iron sports like I think you've witnessed like the differences in how I coach some of those people because like with the main gun down there, I'm like, dude, you are doing a great job, right?
Yeah,
You're crushing weight, like you're happy, you're not in pain, like that looks good enough. You need to go heavier with that,
yeah, yeah.
and and because like I remember him like the first like Jesus. I mean, the first semester he was down there, for the first week and a half, I think that every time he squatted, he would like turn his head and look at me or Zach to like make sure he was doing okay. And I was like, dude, you are doing wonderful right now. Just stop worrying about me looking at you and like hit that squat, come up with it, and add weight. Like that's all I need you to do. And like, and then it's evolved into like joking around and like, all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like, with some of the women on the team, it's like, I'm like, you kick so much ass right now. You don't even know. Like I am, like you've witnessed me coach people. So like it feels dumb explaining to you what I do, but like, like you've seen me interact with like the females on the team, and it's like, it's much less of like a frat bro kind of mentality almost. It's like, like a poor way to describe it.
Yeah.
And I would say like you would actually have to watch me coach people to understand what I'm talking about. But like, it's like it's like a gentle cueing. Like, can you do this?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Like, it's a request.
Yeah.
And like when I'm coaching basically any of the dudes at this point, it's like, hey, do this. And
yeah.
And like I think almost like just getting people down to iron sports is like half the battle. And then once they're down there, like just trying to integrate them as much and as quickly as possible into like a team, and like being like, hey, you're gonna lift with Pup today because he's the most positive human being I've ever met besides Johnny, which you're gonna lift with tomorrow. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's just like try, and then like my own personality, like, just trying to be me, but like, still like energetic and like making sure they know that like I actually care about you because you just came into my weight room.
Yeah.
And like that's a huge deal for me because like, you have a choice of what you can do with your Monday and Wednesday nights.
Exactly.
And so like that's kind of how I think like just caring is like how I think I get people to buy in, and like joking around and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And and like I'll say like another way, like the gym I work at currently, like they use a lot of like variability to kind of hook people, because it's like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen next month, because we write phases in 4-week blocks, and like this month, like if I had you as a client this month, you might do like trap bar deadlift. Next month you're gonna do like 2 kettlebell deadlift. The next month after that you're gonna do like sumo deadlift. Or something like that.
Really? You do sumo deadlift?
Yeah. That's just the standard at the gym.
No, I thought higher of you, but okay.
I personally, well, Artem, if we really want to go there, dude, like rethinking the big patterns too is something you should take. If it ever comes out on video, drop the money to take it. It's amazing. One, you get to see the main gun ask a question.
Oh, okay.
Like the worst question ever. But no. But seriously, like I think every coach should take it. It's a beautiful system, and like I kind of wanted to touch on this. Like I have the amount of times that I have like completely like pulled back the reins on like the movements that I choose to make people do after that course has been insane. Like I don't think I've programmed a barbell deadlift for anyone all summer.
Really?
Like not a single one. Haven't programmed a bar. I don't believe I've programmed a barbell squat, like front, back, sideways. Like have not programmed a single barbell squat. Unless you count Zerker squat as a barbell squat, which I guess it is. But
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, the amount that I have like changed programming because of it, and just like thinking about like what people can actually do is incredible. And like even this morning coaching, like just ridiculous. Like the change that it can create, just like a little modification and like boom. And I think like that's another kind of way to get people to buy in a little bit, is like from a caring perspective, like being like, hey, like your back is egregiously rounded on this deadlift. Let's elevate it so you don't rip your spine out. And like it's like, oh, this person cares about my spine. That's awesome. And like, because like you do, like you just don't want to see another human being collapse in pain. And or like just like stuff like that. And it's just like, meeting people where they're at more or less, and then like, but then making them buy in through like a movement perspective is like making it really freaking hard. Because they like, they're probably gonna come back to you if you make it like just hard enough. But like a small way to know if you've made it too hard is if they're vomiting in the trash can after doing the workout. That's how you know you've made it way too hard. True story.
Right.
Never have a client do 30-30. Seriously. I had this kid do a full 30-30, like 10 exercises, whole deal. Got through like 2.25 rounds and like ran outside and vomited.
Jesus.
And then his mom came to pick him up, and I was like really good friends with his family. And his mom came to pick him up and just like looked at me and was like, so is he still yakking? I was like, oh. like, oh no, he told her. So, true story, true facts.
That's
but like, yeah, just like making it just hard enough for someone, I think, and it's, I think then even like finding people who, I think like making something hard, like strength wise, is really, really challenging for general population.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you were to like watch me after like a deadlift session or a squat session or whatever, it's like, I am laying down for the rest of the day until I have to do something.
Yeah.
For the most part. And it's like, I know you're the same way. It's like, I'm going to move as little as possible after the session.
Yeah, dude.
Because like you're strong enough to do that.
Yeah.
But some people are just not strong enough where like volume is taxing to them.
Yeah.
And so like I think like rest times and like cardio are your friends for getting people to buy in from like a movement hardness perspective, I guess.
Just a quick question, like you saying that you you replaced like the deadlift, the barbell deadlift, barbell squats, like is it like you replace them because of like the individual not being able to perform them correctly, or you replace them because the exercise itself is just not beneficial at all?
I would say more the individual.
Yeah.
For sure, because like again, even like that Diane Lee book, The Pelvic Girdle.
Yeah.
Like I reread the chapter on squatting, like that little part about squatting.
Yeah.
Like last night, and it's just like she defines it so well in that like, in a squat, like your sacrum needs to counternutate, your innominate need to posteriorly rotate or flex is a better term. Your ilia need to translate backwards, and then you need to drop straight towards the ground without deviation in your thorax.
Yeah.
Like that's her like pretty much exact definition of what a squat is.
Yeah.
And like I thought, I looked at that and was like, holy shit. Like, basically if you're doing like a low bar back squat or like any squatting variation, it looks kind of like a low bar back squat does.
Yeah.
Then you're not really squatting. You're like hinging your hips. Does that make sense?
Actually, it does a little bit.
And so like with the exercises I choose, like I try to make them as easy as possible to sit your butt straight down and let your knees like travel forward and like all that great stuff. And like without too much like extension or flexion in your thorax. And so like that's kind of why I choose that stuff. And then like the barbell deadlift, to me, it's just like there's a lot of shear force on the spine during that, and so like unless you're competing in it, I don't know. There's not really a great point to it for me.
Well, but like first, I want to like both of them like ask them, but like with the first the barbell back squat. Like you kind of talk about like the segment needs to counter mutate, but at the same time, like there's always been this talk that you don't want to do it when you're squatting, and it's
Yeah.
like see someone doing it, you're like, oh, this like they need something to fix. Like so, it's like I haven't really reached that chapter, so I don't really know that much.
Okay.
That's kind of why like I'm thinking like so slowly, like 'cause it's just so much information.
Yeah.
In the kind of like it's not like I like kind of reading like 5 pages and I'll go back like 10 and go through it
Yeah.
again just 'cause, like I just want to like put everything together, So but I think I just like kind of almost go through it and then almost like just start going back again like that. But so, yeah, like just to like, then so like basically you're saying that you should counter mutate then and
So like to I guess like that's something that like is really precise, and to just like if I don't explain it well, then I'm definitely gonna just dump it right over to Ben House and Ryan Laker, I think is his last name,
yeah.
on Bro Research Radio. It's on YouTube. Just Benjamin House is his channel name. And so like when if you're counter nutating your sacrum, like your sacrum's already kind of like this. And then it kind of just moving like this. It's not a lot of counter nutation, and your spine, like your the curve of your spine, still remains like that little S shape.
Yeah.
But like if you have full counter nutation, you don't have to butt wink.
Mm.
Which I think like is that kind of like where you're thinking is like a flexion moment during the squat? Like is that kind of what you're thinking? Okay.
Yeah.
So if your sacrum is so much like this. Like and like I don't know, you like can't you can't pull it down with hamstrings.
Yeah.
And like you're just so like this, then you have to flex somewhere to allow the sacrum to have a flexion moment, but it can't be through the sacrum because it's stuck in nutation.
Yeah.
So you have to flex your lumbar spine to create like a butt wink. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, that definitely makes sense.
Okay.
That's like something I'm suffering with right now. Like,
Yeah.
Like, you even saw yourself, like you fucking covered that on Instagram. I was like, I know it's pretty bad. Like it's bad.
Yeah. I mean, like, dude, I look the same way when I squat. Like, everyone looks kind of like that when they barbell back squat.
Yeah.
Unless they've created just a stupid amount of extension and like they've just blown through ligaments and just like they have no ligamentous structure in their pelvis.
Exactly.
And so like that's kind of why I don't barbell back squat. And then like furthering that, it's why I don't like place a high importance of like depth on barbell back squat for iron sports. Like there's just no point if they're not gonna do that in competition. Like DJ and Pup, I was like, dudes, you guys need to hit depth for sure.
Yeah.
And like if you're off depth by 3/4 of an inch, who cares?
Exactly.
So
but like with the deadlift, because I kind of felt the same way that you feel about it. Kind of just unless you're competing it, like the risk to reward ratio is just ridiculous. There's no point you're doing it unless you're competing it. But at the same time, though, like I kind of feel like it's a good thing to do still for like just a gen pop, but you shouldn't do the excessive weights. Like you should kind of do moderate weights and like still go through it most guys. I think it's a good exercise to do just to be strong in it, but you shouldn't really do it with weights that I'd say like a 7 out of 10, like that kind of like resisting like an RP, like just be like 7, like 6 and below, something like that. Like it should be challenging, but it shouldn't be like that challenging. Which is like, because I know right now like myself like doing it, it's like as you're saying, it's like every time I go and pick that thing up, I'm like I can just feel like it feels like my back, like especially my lumbar, like just like something's going to happen. And it might go up into like my T, like somewhere thoracic, or just it's ridiculous. I'll wake up the next morning. Like either my whole right side hurts or my left side, or it's like traveling throughout the day. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's just it really is, man.
I mean, like personally, this is like, total like my own opinion is what I've been doing with people now is I've been having them either do just trap bar deadlift, and like really coaching the shit out of it, or RDLs, because like RDLs are kind of almost like self-limiting to me. Like you can play with their grip gets fatigued, like width of grip, and their grip gets fatigued, and like walking that out of a rack is just like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
So like there's like limiters there, and like I like it more because like there's actually an eccentric muscle action as opposed to just like concentric and like you could just
Yeah.
drop it pretty much.
Yeah.
Um, so like that's what I've been doing with people, and the trap bar deadlift in terms of that, like I think it's really great to reduce forces like shear forces on the spine. Because like you can get that like where they put the weight on, you can like line that up with kind of their ankle, and then just like be like, all right, push.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a very good
And
point.
I mean, it's like astonishing to me how hard it is for people to do that though.
Yeah,
Like
that's
just shocking.
yeah,
Because they need to really stick their butt back in space,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they need to keep their shin like pretty vertical. Like I would say they put like I don't know, like 5 to 10 degrees of dorsiflexion through their ankle. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not a lot.
Yeah, it's bad, man. It's bad.
So it's just like yeah. So it's like kind of shocking to me how hard it is for people to do that really well, and like and then I mean you elevate that thing and you have a really good heavy deadlift, and elevated deadlift has yet to fail me to create a really just solid hinge pattern
Mm.
and load that thing. So
Yeah, some good shit, man. Some good shit.
I appreciate it.
No, it's just like that. I don't know, because it's just always like this stuff where it's like you have one person saying that like for example, a deadlift, you like shouldn't be doing that. Like there's somebody
Yeah.
else like they definitely should be doing it. It's like, oh,
Fucking Robert Oberst, man.
yeah.
God damn it.
but, but no, honestly, I do agree with you though. It's like it's really shocking though, like how you just expect people to be able to do like almost the simplest of things, just like kind of like just hinge your hips, like do this, like, and, like just like I think every human should know how to do it, but
Mhm.
maybe due to that A, they've never worked out, or like B, they were never athletic like any sport at all. I think that's something like where it suffers them. It's just like this. I feel like today's just lifestyle has definitely like hurt us in that we don't really need to move a lot. Like we don't need
Yeah.
to expend any energy to receive a reward or like get like anything like that. So that's kind of where I feel that we get stuck in this comfort zone and we don't really like move in any way. Like I don't really need. I'm not telling you like you need to go and explore your body, but at least just
Yeah.
go out and move somehow. Like do something. Like kind of just whatever you want to do, but move. Like that's basically it.
Yeah.
Now I'm preaching all about movement, but it's like something is like kind of it doesn't have to be anything. It's like something like anything. I don't really care what, but
Yeah.
just something. Honestly.
I mean, that's one of my favorite things about you is that like you're just like that's one of your things. It's just like just get out there and like do some movement and like see what happens. It doesn't matter. And like
Honestly,
really,
though.
like if you don't have weight there and you're not moving at a high velocity, there is very little chance you're gonna acutely injure yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
like and like if you're not doing something stupid, like if you can't overhead press like I don't even know, like 90% of your body weight or something like that,
Yeah.
and you're like, I'm gonna kick into a handstand, and I'm 57, like that's okay, and I've never done a handstand before, like I can't even do a cartwheel, like that. Okay, no, don't do that. Like but even though it's technically like a low velocity, like unweighted movement,
Yeah.
it's so I don't know.
No,
With that.
I totally agree. I totally agree, man. I totally agree. I don't know. I feel like we should do maybe like 5 more minutes and then maybe like just kind of wrap it up in like the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, I have no idea how long we've been going. Oh shit!
I think
We're supposed to be going an hour 20.
No, man. Like honestly, like for being the first episode, I think it's been a good talk so far.
I think it's really good. I mean, let's see. I mean, do you have any questions on your from the Instagram or Snapchat thing that like?
Well, first of all, I just want to like give a shout out to our amazing girlfriend, who's really amazing. I just want to like give that shout out. That's probably gonna get edited out.
Sure.
But no, honestly, also like on a serious note though, thank you to Dr. Steidel for really giving us like this platform to just or a good question to just ask and kind of go off like that, you know? Because without him, I don't know what we would have done. Like, it would have maybe it was a good first question to just like deal with and just dive deeper into it and kind of see where we go.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on that one. I don't even know what we're going to talk about on the next one, but
We'll figure something out.
exactly. But let's see here. I have some great little questions that I can answer really quickly.
Okay,
Joe
go ahead.
Salto? No, I'm not going to answer your question. How do you like that, Joe? Caden DeRuiter, specifically just biceps. You can train them every day, Caden. So really, just start with like 2 sets of 10, and finish at 3 sets of 10. Okay. But I would progressively increase reps or sets every single week, and there you go. Being swole. Maybe we do that on the next one. Just hypertrophy, because that would just be insane. Oh, do that
I have
again.
nothing, man. It's mashed potatoes.
Doubled our viewership. From 0 to 1. Not iron sports from Kat Frazier. Well, congrats, Kat.
That's too late for that, man.
I talked all about iron sports. Dylan Brown, training styles / methodologies used at Springfield. Muscle emoji. Do you like Mike Boyle, buddy? Do you? That's where we're at, brother. But hey, what can you do?
God save the queen.
Exactly. God save everyone. I think that's a pretty solid place to end right there.
I think so, though, man. You know, it's been a ride, this first episode, and I'm looking forward to, you know, how far apart these oceans are gonna go.
Yeah, I'm really thinking of trying to move to Australia so that it's even further.
Perfect, man. That's exactly what I need. I don't want you closer to me, man.
Exactly.
The better, the better.
Trying to get the hell away from you.
Oh man. Alright, well that's it, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a joy having you here, and until next time.